Hello again. We're now on to chapter 16, The Elements of Bree. The Gnomes. Blaze woke Bree up with many licks and a few nudges. He barked at Odiana to wake her up, which she wasn't happy with. The fire had remained the same all night, and Bree commented on it. "Fairy fire," Odiana replied in her squeaky tone. "Doesn't die out." "Odie, you're a wonder to have on this trip," Bree said. Odiana looked from Bree to Blaze and made a strange face. "I don't think she likes that nickname," Blaze commented. "I won't call you that if you don't like it," Bree said to her. Odiana shrugged, but didn't say anything. After a quick breakfast of some fish Blaze had caught in a stream nearby, the trio began their journey up the mountain to the Temple of Ether. Odiana used her wand to put out the fire, mostly by sucking some of the flame back up into her wand. Most of the path was a steep incline up the mountain through the trees. The path zigzagged for a while, until it took a wide curve through the rocks, and then some steep steps to the top. Once at the top, they found themselves on a relatively flat plateau that curved to the west of the temple. Bree felt exhausted from the climb, so she moved slowly as she followed Blaze. Odiana had flown ahead a bit to check out the path, but was now returning quickly, very excited. "Mountain gnomes," she said over and over. Blaze got into a crouch and moved slowly to his side. A short distance away was a cave about the same size as the one on Miner's Point, with a group of 6 creatures standing in front. They were about knee-height, wearing dark clothing and a hat on their heads. A couple were sharpening daggers, while the rest were chatting to one another. The closest gnome tossed his sharpening rock to the side and looked up, directly at Bree. Although she was only a baby at the time, she knew they were the same thing that her aunt had fought in the cave. "They may be small, but those knives are known to slice through certain rocks," Blaze said. The closest gnome stood and said something to the group, causing them all to look at Bree and Blaze. They all gave a sinister smirk and pulled out their daggers. Out of the cave came a slightly larger gnome, who grunted to the rest, and then they charged. Bree pulled some stones out of her hip pack, and loaded one into her slingshot. She fired on the closest one and hit it in the chest. It stumbled a bit, but then it kept approaching. She reloaded and fired again. She hit it in the head, and it exploded into a puff of dust, and a small pebble of rosarum fell to the ground below it. Blaze easily killed 2 of the gnomes with his powerful jaws, leaving more rosarum pebbles around. Odiana stayed flying above the flight, raining down sparks of fairy fire to annoy the remaining gnomes. Bree easily killed the next 3 gnomes with her slingshot, but the final gnome, the bigger one, ran quickly into Bree's legs, knocking her over. Blaze ran at it, snarling. The gnome punched Blaze in the face, and the wolf fell over, stunned from the hit. Bree reached deep into her hip bag and found it was empty. The stone she had and the bag of the rosarum and coins had fallen out when the gnome had knocked her over. Even with the enchantment from the fairies, everything still fell out. She looked to her side and saw the small pebble of rosarum from one of the gnomes killed earlier. She loaded into the slingshot, aimed at the larger gnome at his chest, and fired. When the pebble hit, the gnome flew back many feet until he hit the rock face behind it. Upon impact, the gnome and the rock exploded in a shower of purple energy. Bree, Blaze, and Odiana shielded themselves from the bits of stone flying into the air. Once they felt it was safe, they looked to the rock face and were stunned. A small crater remained where the gnome exploded. There was no dust, nor was there any rosarum pebble. "What did you hit it with?" Blaze asked. "A pebble of rosarum," she replied. "I didn't think it would do that." Odiana folded down and picked up a pebble from one of the gnome dust piles. As she did that, her wand tip began to glow brightly. She stared at it and then stared at the others. Bree picked up the bag of rosarum she got from Shen and pulled out a larger stone. "What is this stuff?" "It's a very powerful energy source," came a voice from behind her. Blaze growled at the sudden appearance of the figure behind Bree, but soon calmed down as Bree got a look at them as well. Standing near them was a man. He was very tall, dressed in shining gold armor, with white gauntlets on his forearms, and shoulder-length blonde hair. He had a faded ring of light around his head, and attached to his back were 2 large white feathered wings. "Who are you?" Bree asked the man, who looked like an angel. "I'm here to take you, Blaze, and Odiana into the Temple of Ether," the angel said, and then he looked at Bree directly. "The last time I saw you, you were only a baby. You certainly have grown up since then." Who is this? Find out next time.